Welcome to the Doc Analyzes Anything, the show where psychology meets science and we analyze any behavior, including, and you guys will love this one, carrying a pineapple around everywhere. That's all
Only
it
if
says.
it's upside down.
What does that mean?
You don't know.
Wait,
I don't
you
remember.
said
I
it.
did know, but I don't remember it now. What is it?
You put it outside your house. I thought the upside down
Oh.
pineapple outside your house.
Was that the
For
one that was
swingers.
for like you show you're a swinger or something like that?
Mhm.
Ah,
Oh, I was thinking like blood on the door for the angel of death, but that's
oh, it's
not
like,
as
that's a different.
gruesome.
I don't know how that works, but
I don't either. But no, I did not know that was a thing. Upside
Mhm.
down pineapple.
Yeah, see the origin of that one. I'd be curious to find out about. Like, how did that community decide that it's the pineapple is their symbol fruit?
I don't know. I mean, I know back in the day they put pineapple on a lot of plates and stuff because pineapple is a sign of wealth or at least comfort, because like you were at a comfort level because it was so hard to come by. It was a very expensive fruit, and so that's why like late 18, early 1900s, you would see pineapple on a lot of plates and that sort of thing. But I have no idea if that is associated with that or because I don't know. I was going to say something that might have been gross, so we won't say that. It's sweet.
There you go.
Yeah.
But if you're carrying it around with you, I see this as one of two options. One,
Everywhere, all the time.
I mean, it could just be you have an interesting choice and like something to carry, and not really anything deeper than that. It's that superficial. Or you also have like a knife or something in your back pocket where you could cut it up and have a healthy snack on the go.
As long as that's what the knife is for. I actually have one sitting here with my apple core from my last meeting, but I decided that I shouldn't be eating an apple like a serial killer here while I'm trying to talk.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Steve eats apples like a serial killer by stabbing the slices with a knife and then eating them off the knife. Very disconcerting when you're just having a casual conversation with him over Zoom.
It's probably really comfortable for the like most of the subordinate people in the company as I'm sitting there, like telling them what I need them to do as I'm licking the juice off the knife afterwards. But you know, it is.
If you guys have seen Game of Thrones, how Ramsay Bolton ate the apple, that's it. That's how Steve does it.
I don't remember that part of the show, but yeah,
He's also as sadistic as Ramsay was.
I don't like
sadistic as he was.
I don't
know. Go ahead.
I don't like my hands getting sticky is really why I do this. And that way, like I am keeping my hand on the dry part of the apple and not getting my like the juice on my face all at the same time while scaring employees.
I can think of 3+ things that will keep the hand from getting sticky and also achieve the outcome of eating the apple. That's not as spooky as a knife.
There's only one way to do it, and it is with a knife.
You could just carry gloves around with you.
You could bob for that.
Ooh. 'Tis the season.
Was not ever any good at bobbing for apples.
Is that still around? Do people still do that?
I'm pretty sure COVID killed it. I think now we're all too paranoid about germs to bob for apples.
Yeah. I'm not I've never bobbed for apples.
I feel like we've brought this up before, but when we had the birthday party in October for our oldest child, and there's Dr. Uncle Meow Meow, Brad here doing the donut on the string with all the kids, except they're like 5 and 7, and he's just destroying them. They're all crying in the background because they're losing to him. I
try to let them win, but you can only give them so much time before it's too obvious.
All right, well we'll get started here on that note. Making children cry is a good place as any to end that conversation.
Because what's today's topic?
Today we're going to be talking about anxiety and kind of how, you know, I don't want to say it's a good thing, it's a necessary thing for our species, but also how it became a not good thing and something to be thought of as a disorder or problematic. And so we'll analyze what it is, how it works, and then why it's good until it isn't, so to speak. So I am your host, Dr. Stephen Sparks, along with my always co-host, Kyle Sturry, and our sometimes co-host, Brad Meow Meow Clements over here, Dr. Brad.
It's good
I
to be
guess
with you too. Hi.
I
in
look forward to
spirit,
this every week, every couple of weeks. Sometimes I won't lie. Actually, let me quickly say this. Speak freely. Sometimes you guys have like posted videos, and I see it on the Facebook page, and it's just you two, and I'm like, huh. I thought Steve said that this week was canceled, and so did they just record without me? Is this how they're
that
subtly letting me go?
the only time that Chad didn't step in instead was the Tylenol acetaminophen that we just felt one way or another we needed to touch base on since the misinformation was out there. So it's probably
it's
you just
likely
keep.
that you just didn't have anything important to contribute to that particular clip.
Mm-hmm.
There's
And
a
if
good
it
chance
happens
that
to be
whatever you said was so dumb he had to edit it out, and so that.
Yes, because out of the three of us, talking about pharmacology is probably my least strong suit.
No, you weren't there for that one. He's just talking about other episodes where it's just the two of us talking.
Comprende.
Yeah. So I will say though, because of all the ragging that I've gotten from Dr. Brad over here, I was concerned with knowing like my emotions and what I'm dealing with in the moment or how I'm feeling, and so I have gone and just to really help you guys understand where I'm coming from in the moment, I got some mood lighting for the office here, and so if you want to see me happy, we just go green with it, a little mood like, all right,
wow.
things are going all right over there, and then if things start getting a little too wild or Dr. Brad says something that's too insulting, we're just going straight fire and brimstone over here.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, let's see, go. I've also decided that whenever one of our employees does something that's not appropriate, instead of yelling at them, I'm just going to show them my anger and shape their behavior without the verbal behavior involvement. So
It really does. It feels like I'm in a scary movie right now.
I feel like he's part of the Sith. A red lightsaber was just lit up around him.
I did always really hate that the bad guys had the red ones because I really wanted a red one if I was going to be involved in that at all. So that was my favorite color growing up. So
the color changes makes me really think about the movie Inside Out, and I would be terrified to see the Inside Out equivalent of your head.
I don't know that I need anybody seeing any part of inside of me. So let's just stay on the outside here. All right. This is as close as into my head as I want any of you to be. All right.
Fair. I'd be scared if I saw your head inside out too.
Yeah. I mean, what was Inside Out Boy? What cartoon was that? You remember you went over?
It was a, it was a movie.
Oh, there was there was a cartoon where the kid went over the swing set and turned into Inside Out Boy, but I can't remember what it was from now.
Oh, you mean literally?
Yes, like he literally was inside out, and this was like '90s, probably Nickelodeon or something.
Oh yeah. Was it claymation?
No, it was just a cartoon. Look it up.
No, it wasn't.
No, I might be wrong, but I am. We're going back 30 years here as I'm trying to remember what it was. So
I pulled it up, and it is definitely claymation.
Is it okay?
Just so everyone knows, for the 20th time I'm saying this, these other two fellers are considerably older than me. So a lot of things that they say, I don't know. So I just have to sit back and think about it.
Was this just like
even at one point he was talking about how when he was in his early 30s when the original Back to the Future came out.
I have been saying like the kids will be like, "Hello," I'm like, "Hello, McFly," and I'm like, "I'm not explaining this to you. Maybe one day."
Hey,
you'll
McFly.
See the movie. Yeah. All right, let's get into anxiety. I feel like I should pick a color for anxiety, but that takes too much effort at this point.
What color do you think would fit?
Blue would be a good one.
Blue's too calming, I think.
I think of blue. I mean, with Inside Out, it was sadness was blue.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think
orange was anxiety.
I think she was
right?
orange.
Orange or yellow would probably make sense. Yeah.
Yellow's bright
Yeah.
and happy though.
No,
Not
no. You're
What?
the
not all
most
the
you're getting.
time.
That's why I went green. That's the most
No,
bright and
green is
happy you're getting out of me.
disgust.
I'm going off the rainbow here. Roy G. Biv, all right? If green is in the middle, if green is
Give me
relaxed,
violet.
blue is sad,
200 for violet, please.
red is enraged. I guess my rainbow is all negative. There is no good except green is just like neutral, chilling in the middle. Good to go, so to speak.
Go green.
I shouldn't have said that. All right. So, what is anxiety compared to what society talks about anxiety? It seems like instead of thinking about it in terms of a fight or flight response, as we probably mean it, at least physiologically, in societal terms, it's kind of turned into this idea, like this negative thing that we experience from time to time. And so, anxiety is, traditionally should be something that motivates us. If something isn't right, we don't feel right, something needs to get done. If we didn't feel anxiety, theoretically anyways, we wouldn't ever act to then do what we need to do to remove that and potentially achieve the reinforcer we're looking at. So you think about back a couple 100 years ago, maybe even, if you were, or most people were in agriculture, farming, there was a lot fewer people in cities. I don't know if I should say most people, but a lot more people were. And if it was this time of the year, it's time to gather all the crops and prepare for the winter. If you didn't do so, then because you were too anxious or you weren't anxious enough, then there just was no food for the winter. There was no way to make money. People were suffering, and it really was this. You needed this level of anxiety of like, all right, I have to hit this deadline, otherwise my family may not make it through the winter. And so it should be something that creates motivation, or what we've talked about in the past, motivating operations, something that makes a certain behavior or certain outcome more reinforcing and increases the behavior that would achieve that outcome. And so if we think about anxiety just in terms of motivation to do the things we need to do for life to be as good as it can possibly be, then it's not really a bad thing. It may be an uncomfortable thing that we have to experience. It feels aversive to us, but it is positive in terms of its effect on our lives in general.
And there's a differentiation there too. Like an anxiety disorder
Yeah.
would be, I'm sure you're going to get into that, but just uh like those symptoms, and I'm looking at the Mayo Clinic here, but like the sense of impending danger, panic or doom, increased heart rate, sweating, trembling, feeling weak or tired, like all those things that like don't go away, as opposed to like that little like umph underneath you to like kick it into gear. Or else like I've got a deadline here, I'm feeling a sense of anxiety, but it's probably what you're going to get into, but the ability to kind of manage those feelings on the inside is kind of the difference between somebody who experiences anxiety but works on it versus somebody who has an anxiety disorder diagnosis of some sort.
Yeah, we'll get into the anxiety disorders and really probably mostly the generalized anxiety disorder and how that comes to be. I think the day-to-day anxieties to get the things done or to fix or change something in my life that's not quite right are experienced differently by different people. And so some people may get almost that, what you would expect or would consider that disordered level of anxiety, depending on what is going on in their life, not because of any psychological diagnosis or what might be attributed to that, but just because, nope, things are getting that aversive and I need to act. You know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
there are times at work when stuff's hitting the fan, it all like gets overwhelming, and I feel that level of anxiety because I have to get stuff done, make some changes, fix some things, and then I won't feel that way anymore. But it doesn't stick with me, at least not very long, once those changes have been made, once we've addressed these issues. And that's kind of the difference there.
So then I got a quick question, because we talk about the anxiety being that getting that fire lit under you. But with some individuals, when it's referred to as high functioning anxiety, how comparable would that be to the anxiety that is like what we need within society?
I think the only difference is whether or not it is being brought about by something that is logical, that makes sense, that is functional in the moment. You know what I mean? If you have a very small issue that shouldn't be very bothersome, but it is causing that same level of reaction as like, nope, I'm going to flunk out of college if I don't do well on this exam, then that may be something that, you work on. But otherwise, high functioning or normal functioning anxiety is just, I think, what everybody, at least since we've developed, verbal behavior, has dealt with in one way, shape, or form. And I'd say even before we had a strong language, if you're talking hunters and gatherers, there's probably ongoing constant anxiety of like, when are we going to get the next animal to feed our people? When are we going to find, the nuts and berries we need to survive this winter, sort of thing? And so I would bet that is always consistent. And it's just how logical the causes are for the level of anxiety you're feeling would maybe determine, how society looks at it for that individual. So, talk about it in the way one of the professors I studied under discussed it. Basically, he suggested, at least in theory, there's no such thing as delayed reinforcement. So, whatever it is that reinforces you're going to work for a paycheck, it's not really the paycheck at the end of 2 weeks that's reinforcing you're going to work every day and getting the work done, but it's the fear of not receiving that paycheck or the loss of some of those wages that prevents you from not going to work or prevents you from, not going to work. That's a double negative. That makes you go to work that day.
Not going to work.
Yeah. So, working on a term paper, like I mentioned, we all have our different level of what causes anxiety, what's aversive to us, and how long we wait to start actually getting started on this. Some people are like, nope, I got to get this going right away, get it over with, get it off my plate, and remove that anxiety or avoid it getting worse. Some people, it just builds and builds until like, all right, I'm 2 weeks out, I better start working on this. And then some people, like, night before, I've waited too long, but I'm still going to try to get this done, haphazardly. It's not going to be very good, but maybe I'll have something to turn in because the anxiety didn't kick in early enough for them. You going to say something?
Yeah, I always wonder about that because I was always a procrastinator too, but I felt like and I know you probably can't like quantify amounts of panic, but like I had roommates who would experience like moderate amounts of panic for 4 weeks, and I would experience like the summation of all their panic the night before.
Yeah.
And try to get it done that way.
And so, I mean, in theory, if it was aversive enough to deal with it all in one moment, that level of anxiety, then you would try to space it out. But the competing contingencies, the other things you could be doing with your time, would cause you potentially to put it off longer, versus they would probably experience that level of anxiety much earlier if they didn't get started on it earlier. And I mean, we're talking like by the end, I was like finishing my PhD, and I had friends, everything was done the night before, unless it was like a research paper, which was going to take weeks of work to do. If you just had a normal paper, 10 pages or something, you were just writing that the night before. And I had friends that would just set an alarm for 4 a.m., get up, write it up, and then go about their day. And that was too much anxiety for me. But it still wasn't enough for me to try to get it done days ahead of time. And so I would just, get home, do what I needed to do, start working. And then whatever time I got done working, that was how much sleep I got until I had to get up and go to my first meeting, or what was it like? And so it all affects people differently. And that's kind of the point, is it is nothing more than the fight or flight response to environmental issue or something that you are dealing with, whether it's health, safety, work related. Sometimes we're talking about negative relationships that are ongoing, friendship or romantic, that are causing anxiety, that's just telling us, hey, something needs to be done here. Either have a conversation to make it so it doesn't cause this, or maybe decide that relationship isn't for you anymore. and I know that a lot of times that's easier said than done. So we don't mean to be shaming anyone that's staying in relationships that may not be positive. But in general, the body is saying something isn't right here. And so whether that's something you can act on real quick, you have to plan on, or finding another way around it, that is a natural reaction to stressors in the environment, is to have that physical response and the thoughts that go along with it. Sometimes even like for some reason, if I get a certain type of stomach ache, I feel extremely anxious, and like it's paired probably from something I did when I was younger. There's a good chance it's just from back in my partying days and feeling sick the next day and how that felt, or something like that. But it doesn't have to be just something you're dealing with in your personal life. It could be something physiological like that as well.
Yeah, I I don't experience a lot of anxiety, at least not to the like levels that a lot of people I know do, or folks that I've worked with in the past. But I do get it, like anything, any sort of like anytime there's like something wrong with my house, like if I'm feeling like the AC isn't running quite correctly, or there's like a sound in my car or something like that, like I get the type of anxiety where I just don't even want, like I freeze, like I don't even want to go look at it because I don't want to
Yeah.
find a problem, and then I just end up sitting there being like really mean to everybody.
Well, and that's a good point too. We talk about this, the fight or flight in this situation, and I was going to bring up trauma here anyway, so it's kind of a good segue. And then it's a very, and I think we mentioned before, it's a poorly chosen description, but there's what is often referred to as the learned helplessness. So if you can't fight or flee, just naturally you kind of shut down. There's nothing there. You kind of like sit there and just try to survive the moment, and then afterwards try to avoid those moments in the future. And so it might be that has become so aversive to you that like it's not quite to that point, but is to the point where like I don't want to even experience this again. I don't want to deal with it. Although I still don't know why you didn't just let the raccoons live with your family and just be part of your life like that.
Yeah, that was an extremely anxiety-inducing situation. Hearing raccoons skittering around on my roof while I knew they were probably ripping things up, and then we trapped them, which was what we were supposed to do. And then I had a lot of anxiety about how to release them. Like that was like a very, very nervous situation for me because I'd never done that before. Like, are they just
Yeah.
gonna jump out and kill me when I open this cage back up? To the crowd, we released them humanely in the woods, and they all four are back together, I assume.
Reminds me like when I was little, we were trapping mice in the house, and old house that I grew up in, like there are going to be mice in a house that old, and we'd take them out and release them, and like some of them would jump up to like head level as they came out of the trap, and that would freak me out. But I actually have and I'm sure it was much less pleasant for my parents, but I have this like memory of it being a child, and there was a storm, and like a piece of wood flew through the roof that was like over the porch out over my parents' bedroom. And I remember looking out there and like just seeing little raccoon heads popping out, looking at you through the window, and then diving back down into the hole.
Oh
And I thought that
man.
was great. So I don't know why you're upset about your friends, because my friends were cool to have around.
That sounds like something out of a cartoon.
It my life has just been one cartoon moment after another. So
Well, yeah. They did a lot of damage to the roof. I was able to repair that, but it was they got scrappy little fingers, man.
yeah.
They know what
Love
they're doing.
puppies.
Yeah.
So back to Kyle's trauma. I mean trauma in general. So see, like whether you were able to fight, flee, or were stuck in that situation and just had to try to survive the moment. When you go through trauma, and it's more of a semantics issue and a kind of conceptual issue. But as behavior analysts, we say that trauma does not cause anxiety or cause behavior, because anxiety is just a neuroelectrical, physiological, and verbal behavior kind of combination of behavior. But it does act as motivation or MO, or the SD, which is the discriminative stimulus, or if you're in the presence of a stimulus that is associated with that traumatic event, escaping will be reinforced. And that's what we mean by discriminative stimulus. Or you will have that motivation where behavior that allows you to escape that situation will be more reinforcing in the moment. And so why that really matters is because society tends to think about trauma just as this thing like, wow, why does this person act violent in these situations? Oh, it's trauma, you know, and that's just what they do. But what we would do as behavior analysts is try to determine, okay, what are the situations, what are these stimuli, and how can we teach a person to react in a way that isn't violent or scary to others? It won't negatively affect their life when they encounter those situations. And so, like we talked about in other episodes, if you're in the presence of a traumatic event or a stimuli that's associated with a traumatic event and nothing occurs, over time, that Pavlovian pairing, just like Pavlov's dog, you know, the food stops being paired with the bell, salivation will stop in the presence of the bell. If nothing traumatic occurs in around these stimuli, then the breaking of that pairing should occur, and you should no longer have that pancreas response. It should slowly decrease over time. And so that's why oftentimes people will do what's often referred to as systematic desensitization. Like, we're going to teach you a relaxation skill to help you handle this moment that's going to maybe be pretty intense for you, and then slowly increase the stimuli that are associated with that original environment, or the salience, or how obvious they are to you in the moment, and let you handle that. And then we'll take another step forward closer to that, and another one, until eventually you are breaking that pairing. You're no longer having that reaction to these stimuli around you.
Could you give an example of this? Because there's a lot of words being thrown here. And
Sure. So let's say you find yourself stuck, you know, your car breaks down in a bad neighborhood and you are robbed. Could be at gunpoint, could just be strong arm, like someone, you know, takes a purse or a wallet and runs off. But in that moment, you can't run back to your car and drive away because it's not working. There's no one around to help you. You're likely to be more injured if you try to fight the person off, and you kind of just shut down in that moment, let them take what they want. And now any or many of the stimuli associated with that, so being in dark, driving through that area again, any smells in the air, any particular, like how a certain house looks, any of those stimuli could bring those feelings flooding back when you walk and experience them again or interact with them again. So say, first things first, we're going to find any like smells that may be associated. Maybe you ran out of gas, you're walking with a gas can, so there's a smell of gasoline. First, we're going to try to teach you these relaxation techniques, and then maybe have you look at a gas can or smell some gasoline and start experiencing it and see nothing bad is going to happen. And then we're going to, you know, involve another piece of the stimuli, maybe make it dark out when we do it. And then maybe have a picture of the neighborhood, and then slowly put you back in the neighborhood and show nothing bad is happening. It was a one-time experience. Maybe at work, and someone you knew, you were close with, or you didn't really have to be close with, but someone was assaulted by somebody. Say, in our line of work, we're working with a client who's violent and assaulted someone in a certain area, but you can't avoid going to work. Or I guess you could, but you wouldn't be able to keep that job. But you go to work, you start having these reactions, and the people around you are like, oh no, we understand, that must have been very traumatic. Why don't you take a couple of days off? Or how about we go get you, you know, a snack and calm down, we'll talk about it. Just because you are not encountering that environment without the traumatic event occurring before doesn't mean that other forms of reinforcement couldn't reinforce that anxiety response. And so the attention from others, food, drink, other tangible items, being able to avoid that situation so you never have to encounter it again, all can prevent you from breaking that pairing. And so now that anxiety response continues. And so it can start off being just one instance that doesn't even seem like that big of a deal to you, and then slowly you're finding ways to avoid it, and slowly you're getting attention from others, and they're I don't want to use the word coddling, but they're delivering a lot of high, uh, high reinforcement, high attention to you, that now is continuing that response, even though you've broken the original pairing, and those stimuli start to affect you in other situations as well. Now, all right, it was in this office, but now I feel it when I go into this other office because they're very similar. Or now I'm getting it whenever I'm in any office building. Now I can't just go to any office building. Now I'm starting to feel that way whenever I'm in this town or this city. And any stimuli, like you look in the room around you, all the things that are around you just this moment, even in a barren room like Dr. Meow Meow is in right now, it's just his bed and his degree up behind his head, and has enough stimuli in it that you can start associating something bad happening with those stimuli, which will then be associated with another stimulus. Pretty soon you're anxious all the time and you don't know why you're feeling anxious. And that is what we would call generalization. It's stimulus generalization. And that is why they call it generalized anxiety disorder, where the stimuli that cause anxiety, the situation that causes anxiety, has generalized to more and more and more situations, to now almost everything you encounter causes anxiety. You don't know why, and you just feel debilitating anxiety all day long. And so, go ahead.
And that's an element of something that I'm not extremely proficient in, but RFT and ACT that takes those ideas to those arbitrary relations, facets of one stimulus has some sort of quality that we've connected even through verbal behavior. Some aspect of, you see you're scared of spiders, but then you see something else that might be wriggly or hairy, and it evokes or elicits those emotions that aren't even associated necessarily with the spider, like on first glance, but you've associated those things or built a relationship, and now you're responding to something else that's not even the spider itself, just
Yeah.
because of rule governed behavior and whatnot.
Well, even without rule governed behavior, it can just happen naturally, like organically. This is related to this, so now it's taking on that effect. And that's why I even would be careful with the word associates, because people have the idea that it's like a verbal behavior thought process of, oh, this is like this, so this must happen here too. It's much more seamless like that, where like all of a sudden you just start feeling it and you're not sure why. And so ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy, if you are dealing with a lot of anxiety, is one of the best ways to go. That's kind of broadly out there. We do our work and work with a lot of people with anxiety disorders, but usually just those that it causes them to become violent because of how aversive the situation is, or sometimes want to harm themselves because they don't want to live with that anymore. But the acceptance and commitment therapy really is this broad kind of, anybody can go through in the right classes, learn this and plug it in. And it works very well because it's teaching you to, like it sounds, accept that the fact that you're going to feel this anxiety, and then how can I now make it so it doesn't negatively affect my life so poorly. So I'm not sure, Kyle, you've probably seen this one too. Steve Hayes, who was one of the original ACT guys, has this thing. I think it's, do you remember, like 70s or 80s? I'm going to rag on him a little bit. I don't mean to be making fun of the guy, but in this thing, it's like the open collar, the pointed collar, chest hair hanging out, and he shaves his head so it looks a little bit like Uncle Fester talking to you. And he's saying, like, give an example of how this would work. Like, all right, now imagine I would hook you up to a lie detector test, and all that really does is test for the skin response, heart rate changes, things that would show anxiety. And so now I pull out a gun and say, okay, don't get anxious or I'm going to pull the trigger. And no matter what you do there, you're not going to be able to control it. And so that's kind of the idea behind this, is you have to accept that you're going to feel this anxiety. You can't fight it. That's probably just going to make you feel even more anxious, but we can work on desensitizing you to these situations, and also work on some like coping skills and other things that will help you get through this and still live a great life, even though you might feel anxious sometimes.
And so what would the quote unquote like desensitization process look like?
I am not an act practitioner myself. I've only seen and heard and learned some of it. I know in the way we would do it, it would be very much unique to the person and the situation that causes their anxiety. So, like Kyle said, if you're afraid of spiders, we're going to start off just with like talking about spiders and
Okay.
see once you learn how to kind of handle that by using these relaxation techniques, then maybe we'll pull out a picture of a spider and like start with the daddy long leg because they just don't seem as scary, and work our way up to a tarantula, and then maybe it's touch something furry, be in a room but across the room from a spider in a case, be close to the terrarium, and then the end goal would hopefully be for you to hold it in your hand and see this thing's not going to do anything to hurt me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it has to get to that point to stop the anxiety from being provoked across the board, but that would be the end goal. And you're basically trying to break it into individual steps that increase the anxiety level so minutely that the person may not notice that it's increasing that much. And therefore we can just transfer the training from one stimulus to the next until we get to the terminal stimulus, or the one that we're really like worried about, which is not having a panic attack every time I see a spider, sort of thing.
Yeah.
In ACT, it kind of differentiates in desensitization. In ACT, it would be similar. There's like 6 components. I won't go through them all in detail, but it's like identifying your values, learning committed action. So like, despite feeling a certain way, I will still do this today. And it's in association with my values, goals that I want to accomplish, things like that. Self as context. So I'm not anxious. I'm Kyle and I'm experiencing anxiety, like separating yourself from, uh, I might be confusing that with diffusion too, because diffusion's the next one. So like separating yourself from the feeling, or separating your, emotional like response to, stimulus. Um, and that's like if you're nervous before you go up in public speaking, say like I'm nervous, I'm nervous, I'm nervous, I'm nervous, and you say it over and over again before it starts to like lose meaning, and they call that diffusing. Some people like even do like a Oscar the Grouch voice or something like that in their head. Um, and there's acceptance, so saying like I'm not going to avoid anxiety, it's here. So it's like it's on my bus kind of thing. There's a lot of metaphor in ACT, and then the present moment stuff. So like a lot of like the simple meditations, or like just being aware of present surroundings and getting in the here and now instead of like worrying about what is happening or what has happened.
Okay.
That's a quick overview of ACT.
So one thing that I've always done, and I guess I've heard this places, is like where you tell yourself that everything is okay in that moment. How much of that turns into like somewhat of a denial of what is being the inciting cause of what's making you anxious?
Well, there's like so like one of the present moment stuff is like deep breath stuff. And so when you're doing like calming breaths, it's like you feel unsafe because of whatever event or learning has led up to that moment. But when you're breathing at like a normal rate with like not labored breaths or like quick breaths, but like actual deep breaths, like physiologically, your body is telling, or your body is saying that it is safe. So like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's ways of I don't know if it's hacking, it would be the right word, but kind of like
But
gaming the system, and like not denying, but you can actually put yourself, like just like you can put yourself in a mode of debilitating worry through a learning process. It's not easy, but you can do exercises that technically would put you in a state of not panic.
Gotcha.
well, it's
Is
kind
the
of like
idea, is the goal.
it is possible to train yourself to beat a lie detector test. You know what I mean? And for
Yeah.
anyone out there listening, again, I know I've said this before, never take a lie detector test, because all it is seeing if you're anxious. And so, oh, you're a little more anxious when they ask this question. Now you're guilty. So just don't do it. But
I did one once and I failed. It was like a demonstration, and I failed because I knew it was the question that they were trying to get me to lie about. And so I got like, oh, I hope I don't
yeah,
tense up during this one. And then they're like, yeah, it's a lie. Like, no, I was just nervous about the question.
yeah. So
I went to jail.
that he's actually calling in from prison right now. This is in the prison recording
I
room.
can't Can't leave the booth.
um, so yeah, it's if you think about the behavior and the sensations associated with panic or with a flight or flight response, it is a heightened respiratory rate, a heightened heart rate, feeling flushed. Your body is basically preparing itself to move as necessary. And so if you start controlling the breathing, which we know lowers the heart rate, is that really tricking the system, or is it just training yourself how to not be in fight or flight response when you shouldn't be? And so I guess to go back to what your question is it really like fake it till you make it, or is it this isn't really that dangerous, it's not a big situation, and so I'm just telling my body where I should be based on the environment that I'm in, sort of thing.
Okay. So it still it serves a fair purpose. It's not harming you in a way.
Yeah, no, all of this is supposed to be what happens. It's just now we've created these pairings, and it's occurring in situations where it shouldn't be happening. But you want anxiety, you want a fight or flight response if you're in a moment of danger. You don't want to just shut down and let whatever is going to happen. So, and we should be clear on this too, that this is not just to do with traumatic events. Like if you're going back to the term paper, you're working hard on this, you get so anxious about it that you just shut down. You don't turn anything in. You don't do it at all. And even though failing the class may be aversive, allowing yourself to escape from that severe moment of anxiety that you felt right as you started to panic and couldn't get the work done will reinforce that panic response when you have future papers done or other pieces of work. And if you follow that pathway down, you don't learn how to deal with the anxiety and work through it so you can still do what you need to do. That's when it can become a true disorder, become debilitating. And now I can't even keep a job or maintain the life I want to live because I've basically shaped myself to feel this anxiety every time I'm in that type of situation where I need to get something done. And so it doesn't need to be a traumatic event, but it still can spiral from the pairing of stimuli in one environment to another. Like, all right, it's writing a term paper, it's writing any paper, it's writing work reports. I don't know a job where you don't have to at least take notes on what you've done to prove that you've done it. I mean, whether it's a mechanic writing out, what you did in a car, medical field, anything that it's probably involves some sort of report at the end of a shift for the most part. And so you can see now why, if it goes down that path, there are people that are anxiety so bad that they just cannot thrive on their own and that need some level of social assistance or medication or therapy just to enable themselves to keep working at that point. Because you go back to the farmer again, all right, back in the day, if there wasn't a social assistance situation, there weren't people willing to help you out, you just weren't fed. But if you were back in the 1800s, 1700s, they called it the poorhouse for a reason. If you weren't able to make ends meet, if you were kind of living a vagrant lifestyle, or the anxiety got so bad that it seemed like you had a mental disorder, they often just locked you up back in those times. And so it was either you found a way to survive or you didn't, and there wasn't all this social responsibility to help people. And so it's great that we've come this far, but we also have to be careful that we're not, I don't like the word enabling, but is what society would think of it as enabling, by being so caring that now we are reinforcing some of these anxiety responses in the people in our lives that we care about. Because if we get them the help they need to learn these, relaxation responses, desensitize themselves, they don't feel the anxiety when they shouldn't anymore. Now they should be able to live life normally, unless there's other comorbidities, other things going on that's affecting them differently.
And that's not to invalidate anybody's feelings either. Like, there are real traumatic events that do. I mean, I'm thinking of even clients that I've worked with who, were made fun of so severely, in grade school that like interacting with other people is just like it's a really really hard thing. They want to, but it's really really difficult. But let's visit crowds, or like, let's slowly like acclimate to like more and more people and then now interact with the person or something like that. um, you can do that in a way that's still like acknowledging the fact that like, hey, that was really crappy what happened when you were in grade school too.
Yeah, it it certainly does not mean any of this, and anything we talk about doesn't mean that their experience is any different. That we are saying that nope, they shouldn't be experiencing what they're experiencing. It shouldn't go. It is
Yeah.
natural the pathway it takes, and we are trying to break that pathway. What I am suggesting is the level of care that we have as a society for people that are suffering, because we all experience anxiety, and if we didn't, then we wouldn't do anything probably ever. um and because we know how that feels now, we want to be there for someone, and that is great. But trying to be there for them in the right way, if it's debilitating, getting professional help if possible. If it's not debilitating, be like, all right, let me help you through this, but let's do it anyways, rather than let's get you out of here so you don't have to deal with this aversive situation or this anxiety provoking situation. There, it is possible to be doing the right thing for a person and potentially uh maybe not make it worse, but not be actually helping them in the long term, compared to if
Yeah.
we say, all right, I'm going to be here for you, but we're going to do this together. Then we can hopefully help them break that pairing as we go through it. So I'm thinking, like, if we had an employee come to us, and this is a purely hypothetical, but something bad happens, they're in a situation, we could say, okay, we're just never going, we're going to basically help you find another position so you don't have to do this work anymore, or um maybe pay you and then you just can leave the room if things start to escalate or what have you. uh and that would be caring for them, but in the long run we could actually reinforce that anxiety behavior, the panic behavior, and make the trauma worse, rather than saying, okay, let's get you the correct type of help so you can handle living your life and working the job the way you had prior to this incident, is really what
Yeah.
we're kind of get at here. So we
Yeah.
definitely don't want to go back to the no one cares, bootstraps, or just suffer through it, otherwise you're not going to make it. But allowing someone to just escape that over and over and over again could perpetuate the situation also.
My garden, if my garden is any indication how I would have done 100 years ago, uh, I'd be very anxious.
Ours was like tons of food this year, but trying to get out and harvest it all frequently, like we had
Yeah.
quite a few tomatoes that just went by the wayside, or um I think we waited too long on the broccoli and they started to flower, and like you can't eat it at that
Mm,
point. So
yeah, it's no good. Yeah,
no.
we came back
Broccoli
from a trip and
flowers?
it flowered.
Yeah, this turns out like this is the first time growing broccoli, and like the actual little nubs at the end of the broccoli are flowers. If you let them go long enough, they just bloom. So
What are
that
they
was
looking
interesting to see.
They bolt when it gets hot. They bolt.
They run away from you.
like? Yeah.
No,
They see
no, it's
Kyle
called
coming. They're
bolting.
like, we got to get out of here.
No, it's called bolting. It's a thing.
I gotta look
We
this
had
up.
good cucumbers. Our cucumbers were great. We'd be living on cucumbers all winter.
Yeah,
If
we had
if
a
that was the
lot of
case.
butternut squash.
Oh,
Lots.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
You butternut squash. That's my
Yeah, I have invented, and by invented I mean it's probably someone else's idea that I just saw and then forgot about. But I call it like an American curry style dish, where it's like you make a curry type sauce using the butternut squash as a base, but it's kind of
This
like
is hot sauce and Budweiser.
yeah. Uh
Go ahead.
no, it's because it's flavors that we would associate with the fall in the United States, but it has a curry type flavor and appeal to it, as if it was from
Nice.
another area of the world. And so I just chop them up, put them in those spices, and then freeze it till we're ready to have some more.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Can
Ready?
confirm.
Ready?
Kyle was right. Bolting is in fact the thing.
I'm
You had to confirm that? Come on.
I was
Common
not.
knowledge.
Dr. Sparks sounded very hesitant, and I mean, he's a doctor. So I thought that maybe we needed to confirm it because the doctor he wasn't convinced.
Let's put it out there. If you're listening, have you heard of bolting? Yes or no?
I just question everything all of you say. So it was not a dig at that one particular thing or Kyle when I said that the plants just run away from him naturally.
Even unhealthy skepticism about everything.
Everything in
I'm
the
just
world.
kidding.
All right. So anxiety. Anything else you think we need to touch on with that?
No, we could have like an outro with the song Anxiety.
Which is just the sample. It's not even a sample. I mean, it's a sample of
sample.
the other song.
Yeah.
It's a sample, but it's just the song. It's like they took the karaoke version and just made up a new song over it.
Yeah, I know. I don't. And did you know she got some big award for it this year?
Really?
I don't know. I don't know the song.
Well, Steve, it's because you
'Cause you're
grew up
old,
listening to
Steve.
like what is it, J. Cool and the Gang or whatever. Yeah, that's how old I am.
All right. Like
Cool in the Gang is
Cool
Yeah.
and the
the
Gang.
thing.
That's who's
J.
Dr.
I
Sparks.
thought-
I think you're thinking of J. Cole,
No,
which is a more modern artist.
yeah.
no.
J. Cole and the Gang could be a cool thing.
Give me some 90s
It's a
grunge,
mashup album.
like 60s, 70s rock and roll, rap from like late 90s up until some more recent stuff, but mostly. You really want to see me jamming out, throw on some DMX, and we'll have a great
He's
time.
a liar. He's a big Bing Crosby kind of guy.
That might be the only
I'm
kind
not
of
a Bing
music I could
Crosby
sing.
kinda
I don't
guy.
know. Like, get a frog in the throat and try to sing, and then I'll sound like I'm actually hitting some notes there.
Ooh, let's do some karaoke this weekend.
Let's not.
You heard it here first, fellas. Dr. Sparks will be doing karaoke this weekend up north.
I sang one song ever on karaoke after a lot of beer, and luckily I was singing with a friend whose microphone was much louder than mine, and so I just got away scot-free.
See, it's my thing. It's so my 40th birthday is coming up, and that is going to be what we're doing. We're going to be karaokeing. Karaokeing.
That sounds dreadful to me.
So fun.
I'll have him sing "Lips of an Angel."
All right. Well, on that note,
I have no anxiety about karaokeing.
I do. I have a lot of it.
that would probably I can get up and speak in front of almost any crowd, even if I'm unprepared. I'm good to go. But you make me have to carry a tune, and I'm in trouble. So,
Well, let's systematically desensitize to that.
first you have to teach me how to sing, because otherwise the pairing's just going to continue over and over and over again.
It's so our new show is teach the doc how to sing.
When you can only speak, I have more range in my speaking voice than I have in my singing voice. I either go like voice cracking or way lower than I should, and then I can't go any lower, and so it's just like the same tone of lowness.
So all the more reason I want to experience the tone of lowness. Tone
All
of
right.
Lowness would be a great band name.
Tone of lowness. There you go. Now, I'm not a musician, so you'll have to get other people, but I'll take credit. You can give me royalty checks for that.
There you go. Tone of Lokeness. Tone Loke. Anyway, go ahead.
So, I think that's it about anxiety. So let's try to not be too anxious about the world around us, even though the craziness that's always going on and the things we're seeing on the news. Try to enjoy every day and then take it day by day and look for the bright things in life. Otherwise, you never know if you may be stuck in a karaoke bar hearing my tones of lowness and driving you slowly into madness. So let's try to avoid that.
Butternut squash.
Yes, with a plate full of butternut squash.